Alright, hello everyone. I know it's been a while since we had another video, but I figured I'd go ahead and create another video on this Python programming for kids series. So today we're going to look at actually not doing too much programming, but working on setting up Visual Studio Code to be able to use to edit and even run our Python programs. So why are we doing this? Well, thus far we've been using idle, the built-in sort of editor here that comes with a default Python installation. And so, you can create new files, type in your program, and so on. But as you start to work with larger and larger Python programs, larger and larger amounts of code, it can get a bit tricky to just manage all of that using this built-in idle editor. And so today we're going to get Visual Studio Code set up, which will make things easier. So it'll help just you with managing your larger programs, but also it's going to be sort of a good learning experience for how to use other sort of text editors for code, IDEs, integrated development environments, debuggers eventually. So it's a useful learning tool, which is one of the reasons we'll get it set up. And there are many other editors, IDEs you could use, but Visual Studio Code is what we're going to go with. I generally like it a reasonable amount, and it's also available on all platforms, Windows, Mac, and Linux. So you should be able to get it set up regardless of the type of computer you are using for the most part. So how do we do this? Well, I'm going to open up our web browser and type in just Visual Studio Code to search for it. And if we go to code.visualstudio.com, that will explain where we can get it. You can download different versions here. You can download sort of an installer. You can get things for Mac, Windows, Linux. I'm going to check real quick, see what other downloads are available. So I'm actually going to download the zip for Windows, just because I prefer to have zip files to sort of just unpack the files to a directory, as opposed to having it do other things that might be more hidden in an installer. It's up to you. I'm just going to download the 64-bit version for Visual Studio Code here. And so once this dialog box pops up, I'm going to save this file. And then I'm going to go choose somewhere on my hard drives to store it. It's important to remember where you choose to store it. I'm going to go to this D drive I have set up for a lot of my development tools. I'm going to go here into Tools and then create a new directory for Visual Studio Code. And I'm going to save that file there. Alright, so if you didn't have a dialog box pop up that showed you where to save this file, then if you're on Firefox at least, there's probably a download arrow up here that you can go to find where it automatically downloaded it, and then you can click this folder to open the containing folder here. So now we need to sort of extract this into a directory so we can use the files in it. Well, so there are a lot of ways you can do this. Fortunately, in Windows now, it has the ability to sort of open zip files directly. So if I just were to double click on that, you can see these are sort of all of the files that sort of come with Visual Studio Code. So I'm going to right click on it and do extract all. And and then I'm just going to extract it all directly into this Visual Studio Code directory. And actually, I'm just going to actually extract into a subdirectory with a version number. That way, if I install other versions later, I can know which version I'm using easily. So if I extract that, it'll take a few seconds, hopefully, maybe a minute or so, depending on your particular computer. So we'll just continue waiting on that. As you saw before, like a lot of modern applications nowadays on computers have many files associated with them. They're not just a single executable program. Yeah, and as I mentioned, you can sort of extract this, install it anywhere you want on your computer. I just chose it here for my particular setup, but you do want to remember where you ended up installing it. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, so we see this is the code executable here, code.exe. There will probably be a similar code programs on Mac and Linux, but this is what you'd want to run to open up Visual Studio Code. To make it a little easier to access this later, I'm going to send this to the desktop and create a shortcut. So what that should do is you'll see there's this code.exe shortcut now on my desktop. So now if I just open up that, I should get Visual Studio Code to come up here on my screen. So, how to get started? Well, let's just try and get some basic Python code running here, a basic Python program running. So I'm going to start by doing New File. You can click this link here or go to File, New File. And then I'm going to just type our basic Python program that just get started, hello world. And then if I go and save this, where would I save it? I'll save it into this temporary directory on my C drive. So hello world.py. So first thing to notice, as soon as I saved it as hello world.py, Visual Studio Code recognized it as a Python program. By the .py extension, you can see it sort of turned on syntax highlighting, so we get some colored text that shows the different parts of our program. Now we also see down in the bottom, well, you may not be able to see it. Let me move my screen here a little bit. So if you were to look at the bottom right corner, you would see it also automatically figure out the language being Python. So that's just something you can automatically see here. You also may notice it's asking, do we want to install the recommended extensions for Python? Maybe. We'll see if Visual Studio Code can run this Python program as it is. If you want to install the recommended extensions, then that may be fine. But we'll see if we can get things running in Visual Studio Code without those extensions. So if I do this, I can try run start debugging and see what happens here. Okay, so it wasn't able to do that by default. So what I'm going to do now is actually install the recommended extensions for Python. So I click that, it's going to download this Python package and install it into Visual Studio Code. You can see this little arrow bar, and then when this is done, it'll indicate that it's installed. And it'll pop up with this little help window, which we don't really want. Anything else we want to do? Okay, I think that's it for getting Visual Studio Code's Python extension installed. But I do want to mention that if you don't have internet access on a particular computer with Visual Studio Code installed and you want to install this Python extension, there's a way to download it from the internet on another computer and then just transfer it over. So I search for Visual Studio Code Python extension here. We'll see what this goes to. You can install the extension from the VS Code Marketplace. So this is the place where you would want to go to download it. I think if you were to click this, okay. I believe there's a way to download the extension itself. Okay, yeah, so download extension, there's a link somewhere on this page, so if you were to click that, it'll download this VSIX file here. And so you could save that somewhere on your desktop, on your computer. And then what we would want to do in Visual Studio Code is go to the Extensions tab here, which is like this little block thing here. And then there is an install from VSIX, and then you could go select the VSIX file that you just downloaded to get the Python extension. Alright, so one other thing I'm going to do is to make it a little easier for you all to see the code I type on the screen. I'm going to change the editor font size. Let's see how big that looks. We'll go a little bigger, size 24. So hopefully that's big enough for you to see. And now hopefully now that I have the Python extension installed, I can run and then start debugging the current Python file. And then if we do that, you can hopefully see down here in the terminal window what it's doing, how it's running my Python program via this extension. And then it printed out hello world. And so that means our program is running. Let me go ahead and see if I can change the font size for the terminal. Terminal font size. So if I change that to 24, we'll make that a little bit smaller. Okay, that's a little better. Hopefully still big enough so you can see. So now you can see hello world was printed out there. So that generally means it looks like our Python Visual Studio setup is working. But now to just sort of make sure, what I'm going to do is go open up one of our Python Programming for Kids files from before, Pygame. We will do Pygame 7, and we'll see if we can run this through the Python setup in Visual Studio Code. So it looks like we can if you are seeing the game play on screen like I am, which means that Visual Studio Code now is successfully hooked up to our regular Python installation where we have Pygame. So that's good. I think that's it for this video. We'll go into more of how to use Visual Studio Code in the future, but I think that is it for now. So see y'all next video.